You feel?
And I know his teacher, and his teacher's like, he's not living up to his potential.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah, the high schoolers are killing me. The 10-year-old, he's fine. He's fine.
I'm trying to,
Somebody,
well,
2 more minutes, so people are still trying to log in, and then we can start.
Hi, Sharon.
okay.
It's nice to see you.
Hi.
So I'm not wearing it, but I made a shirt, or actually I made sweatshirts, hoodies, for my part of the project. Except I'm not sure where I put mine, but it had this. God dang it! But they all said, "Please stay 6 feet away," except the Y. The Y didn't look like the Y I fixed, but it was in this font, so it was like, you know, it wasn't like kind of mean looking. It was like, please stay 6 feet away. Oh, shoot, sorry. Is somebody calling me? Oh no, that was my alarm for this. Sorry about that.
Do we have to show our wristbands for admittance?
Uh-oh. Can I draw mine on really quick?
Or our passes?
Our glasses?
Passes.
We can be in.
Asses?
Like the VIP pass.
Oh,
Yes.
pass with a P. Sorry. I left mine are all my projects for project 2 and 3 are in my flat file at school. I'm sorry.
All right, welcome everyone to the first block party. Can I also see those wristbands one more time? Excellent, thank you. I'm really happy for everyone to be here participating in this virtual event where we can have a casual conversation about block printing, relief printing in a casual setting among friends, and discuss and share our work in the progress. So towards the end, we'll have more time to carve out our little blocks collectively and kind of share that conversation as we go through the process. And I will also enable the sharing for everyone. So if you want to share like an image of your work, that'd be cool, but no pressure. And today we have a lovely guest today from Fresno State University. Cheryl Poole is also an alumni from Sacramento State University. Also was a former print club president and has done a lot in the printmaking community across California. So it's a real pleasure and a treat to have her here today. So with further ado, I would like to have Shara introduce herself and what she'd like to share with us today. So let me go ahead and do that.
Okay, so you guys can see my slideshow probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't what you asked me to do this like a week ago. So in my classic fashion, I procrastinated on making a slideshow until today. Um yeah, so Genesis and I have known each other since we were at American River together. We met in a materials and techniques class. We were lab partners and have kind of been in contact ever since. And so I first took printmaking at ARC with Mick Sheldon. He's retired now. And he was very like his style of printmaking was like, you can do this in your garage with nothing but like an old piece of plywood and a butter knife. And that was very like he was very enthusiastic about being scrappy, which I feel like that's one of Summer's words also is about being scrappy. And so at this point I had changed majors like several times, like and was finally at the point where I was just like, I've been in college forever. I need to transfer to Sac State and just get a degree. And I was going to do liberal studies. And there's only like one class that I needed that semester. It was like whatever the second like English writing classes or whatever. And so I was like, I'm going to take an art class for fun, like just something I want to do for me. And my only printmaking experience had been when I was in like 5th grade. We did an assignment where we drew, like we basically made an impression with like a ballpoint pen on like styrofoam plates, and we inked it up with a brayer and we made these little prints. And I remember thinking that that was like the coolest thing. And so I was like, printmaking, I'll take printmaking. And so yeah, so then I took this class, and everything he had us do were like 18 by 24 blocks. We had 6 of them due that semester. And so at this point, like I definitely didn't really have a grasp on like what fine art was, but I knew enough about like what relief printing was, and that it was just something I was doing for fun for me. So this was the first relief print that I ever made. And then there's another one that I made in that class. I'm not going to make you look at all of them. And then this one here. And so at this point, like for me, like art making was just something fun. But then like I really got hooked, and I was like, maybe this is actually what I want to do. And I'm not going to piece together a liberal studies degree, which had been advice I'd gotten from a counselor. Where he was like, "Oh yeah, I took a million things too, and if you just transfer, like basically they'll come up with the degree to get you out." And so I ended up staying at ARC another year and getting all of the art prereqs and transferring to Sac State for studio art. And so in the meantime, like I started cutting up a lot of my relief prints and using them like as collage. And so like none of this is good art. Like, and I know that like deep inside of me, like this isn't good art, but these are things that kind of like when I look through my old work, I see this like thread of thought that starts to emerge. It's a really loopy thread. Like I think very circularly is what I realize. And so I started collaging a lot of these things. I have these bees. These are also like collage pieces on paper. And then so I got to Sac State. And so at the time, Summer wasn't there. And printmaking was being taught by like a drawer painter person. And so I didn't necessarily have any new instruction about how to be a printmaker, but at this point, like I'd had, you know, some like more like I'd had all the art history classes. And so I'm, you know, really interested in like the ways that sort of the traditional like religious art and the way, you know, that looks in a more like in contemporary art, how the yeah, just sort of that like reflecting that back. And so this was from a series of self-portraits that I did. And then the other stuff that I was kind of interested in making is like thinking about like where like I came from, right? And so I grew up in Bakersfield, and Bakersfield is this like, if you've never been there, like maybe you've passed through like on your way to LA, but it's not a destination for anybody, but people that live there rarely seem to leave. And the major industries there are agriculture and oil. It's very synthetic. It's basically desert land that, due to irrigation and the California canal system, the aqueducts, has been able to be turned into farmland. And by adding water to the desert, you're able to like synthetically create like a Mediterranean style climate. And so there's all this farming going on, but there's also home offices for what is now Chevron. When I was a kid growing up, it was like Mobil and Halliburton. And so everybody's dad basically worked in the oil industry until, or, you know, on a farm, but typically petroleum industry until, you know, they hit 40, 45, have a bad accident, end up on workers' comp, and then on disability for the rest of their lives, addicted to pain medications. Like that's kind of the culture that's being created by these industries. It's physically very hard labor. The methamphetamine epidemic is huge there. And there's a sense that like everything's very fake, everything's very synthetic. And so I was interested in exploring that at the time. And I didn't exactly know how at first. And one of the things that, like on the left here, there's this cookie or whatever. There's this like bakery that's sort of like a Bakersfield institution. And to this day, you can still go in there. They still sell these cookies, and they're smiley face cookies, but they're like jagged, kind of like like the COVID symbols that we see. And they're just, everything is so fake looking and so weird. And it's like, these are kind of symbols of this place like that I grew up in. And it's like, nothing makes any sense. And at this point, like in terms of like my art making, I still think it's not making sense, but it starts to become a thing. And so I'm also thinking about the oil industry. And so there's an etching on the left and another like little like relief print that I did and stuff. And so Chevron was also beginning to frack. And so fracking, which is terrible all on its own, you add into that, like this is also an ag town. They grow like the majority of the world's carrots, which, you know, that's a root vegetable. It's in the ground. They're also fracking. And so, yeah, it's just kind of this interesting place. And then there's another etching. And then this is where the bees start to come back in. So this is where like, yeah, I think that the way I look at my art tends to be like these very like circular loopy thought patterns. And so thinking about the fracking, and then so the bees kind of start to become like a symbol of what people are doing, the way they're, you know, extracting things from the ground. And so these thoughts are building. Another thing, okay, so now we're going to kind of jump around a little bit. So this is a project that I participated in, but was also related to environmentalism. I worked with in this group, and the artist leading this was Mazadal and Killjoy. And so they're known for doing large mural installations and paste up work, and it's very yeah, like environmentally related and stuff. And so this was a huge group project. There were more than 20 of us, probably close to 30. And so these are the blocks that we carved after they were like, you know, we took a jigsaw and like cut them out or whatever. And so this was what, like five or six full size sheets of MDF. So, you know, 4 feet wide, 6 feet tall. And so there were like 5 of those that we, you know, split up into teams and we carved. And then here's the paste ups that we did in a gallery space using like wallpaper paste. We put up more of these like all around Fresno. And when we put these up, yeah, like in outside spaces too, and using like more like traditional wheat paste material. And so this was the first time that I worked in a large group. And then these are other people like thinking about like, you know, environmentalism and how, you know, that works like within printmaking and stuff. And so this, I started getting excited about printmaking again, because I had when I first started at Sac State, I had this kind of moment of, is this really what I'm doing, right? Like, and trying to make sense out of a lot of these things. And so this was a really good experience, and it was the first time that like I had that really strong sense of collaboration in a project, and I found that really exciting. And I think part of like this experience is why like the print club was a thing that I wanted to do at Sac State. And so me and Lindsay Hernandez, we were the founding members for the print club. And so we started that. And then, so this is the summer. So that's me. Used to be blonde. My hair has been so many colors. This was the summer I was out of Sac State in 2 years. So this was my summer in the middle there. And at this was CSU Summer Arts, which I would highly recommend to anybody this year. It's all going to be online, but it's a really great experience working with like established artists and professors from various universities. And the students tend to be kind of at all places in their development. So like, you know, you have a lot of emerging artists and more established artists, and, you know, it's students, and there's a wide age range. And there are also people, you know, that came to these workshops from other states, but also other countries. And so it gives you this really wonderful, like collaborative experience. And so this project that I'm working on here is being led by Dennis McNett, and he does large relief and screen print installations. And so what we were working on was like a performance art piece. And so this summer class, which is like a 3-unit, 2-week class, I got a lot of traction out of. And so we were making these masks. And so this is my mask like in progress, and I'm making sure that like it fit and I could breathe. And I was really tan there. That's so bizarre to me. It's like I don't see the sunlight anymore. And then on the other side, you can see where we're collaging relief prints on this paper mache. And so my phone is ringing. That's so weird. Okay, sorry. It was my dad who just left the house because he makes a lot of noise and he knew I was doing this, and then he called me. So yeah, so what I don't have are the group photos of the performance art that happened. In part, I mean, partly because if you're in the middle of engaging in performance art, you can't really take your own photos. So I don't have great photos of this, but I have like, so all of this is various relief and stenciling and stuff like that. And this was another large group project. So from there, this is probably out of order, but so then the next semester at Sac State, so I was doing some work with Peter, and I did a series of prints like this that were kind of based on the bunny mask. And so this goes back to the work, you know, now I'm trying to incorporate like the idea of performance art and like those kinds of concepts, but also like how does that work in the environment? And then like I've always done a lot of self-portraits, and then what is it like when like I'm in this environment, right? And things are still weird and synthetic and stuff. And so I have this whole series of photos. Now this is where you guys get off easy, okay? So for Peter's class, I had done a video, and then later this video was exhibited like at Doko for like wide open walls as like a digital mural installation. But what I can tell you about this video, right? And I couldn't find the file, so you guys are lucky. When I showed it the first time, it was like the room was so quiet, and it was like, and as the video's playing, and then like it's done, and then like no one's saying anything, and it was just the worst awkward silence, because the video, it's weird and it's creepy and it's got creepy music and like I don't know, if I ever find it I'll send it to Genesis. And yeah, so it was like, what am I, like, if because it was like a side scrolly thing, and it was really slow and it was really weird. And then I don't know, that experience really unnerved me and made me have a lot of like second thoughts about everything I was doing. But then at the same time, like I call these film stills, they're not film stills, they're photos that I turned into a film. So I kind of worked backwards on that. But then these photos, I've had better luck getting into exhibitions and some of my, what I would consider my more serious work. So I don't know. And I guess my point there is that, you make a lot of stuff and a lot of it is garbage, and sometimes you're too close to it to like know what's good and what's not. Okay, so then now this is the work that was part of my like senior thesis. I don't remember what we call that. And so like this was my final portfolio for senior seminar. I had Sarah Flora for that. And so it's, a combination of etchings and then bad litho layered with monotype. And so kind of go through those. And then I graduated, right? So then I did summer arts again. And then this next time at summer arts, one of the classes that I took was what did we call it? Hybridity in Contemporary Drawing. And that was taught by Siobhan McClure. She teaches drawing painting at Cal State Long Beach. And so at this point, I had been out of school, like, I don't know, half a year or something, I don't know. And I was finding like I was getting really depressed, but a lot of this had to do with like everything that was going on in the world, right? And so COVID hadn't hit yet, but it was definitely the current administration was definitely like weighing on me a lot. And then things having to do with like immigration and families being split apart. And so this was kind of the first initial piece in a smaller series. And so none of this is print work. And and part of that is because like I graduated and it's like, okay, what do you do when you don't have access to a print studio? And so I started doing all this mixed media work. And so this piece, the piece that we were just on, that piece is currently at the CSU Chancellor's Gallery. So then I got back, and so I continued to make this work sort of about children and families. And so the idea that like I keep using children in my work, and so that's something that I'm currently trying to dissect, because my big fear, I guess, is always that by using children in my work and then as a female artist, that turns into, oh, well, she's a mom. And I feel like it's really easy to feel diminished in that way. And so I've been kind of working through like, how do I get this, like some of the sensibilities that I'm interested in capturing without feeling like that's how people are going to label me. And so this work, I was working on found book pages from a California first grade primer from like the 1950s. And so it wasn't Dick and Jane. I want to say it's Jack and Jane. And so taking these pages out, embellishing them, whether it's with thread or gouache or adding more imagery on top of them. And so I did a series of these, and like I said, all these are kind of about home and family and like immigration issues and stuff like that. So at this point, I wasn't doing any printmaking. And so I started at Fresno State. And then one of the reasons why I was interested in going to Fresno State was because Sac State in some ways wasn't like a great experience for me. And I think part of that is I went to Sac State because it's where I lived. And if I would have done research or had the ability to move, that's not where I would have went. And so my husband took a job in San Jose, so we had moved to Los Banos after I had graduated. And the universities that were like accessible living in Los Banos is basically Fresno State or San Jose State. And while San Jose State has an MFA, when I looked at that program, there wasn't work that, like I didn't feel inspired looking at the work students were making, and I didn't feel a connection to the work that the professors they were making either. And I was like, I want to make a better decision this time. And so this photo on the right, that's a painting by Stephanie Ryan. And I had hung a show for her in the Kaneko Gallery a few years before I had applied to Fresno. And she is a painting professor at Fresno State. She, her bachelor's was, like her area of emphasis was in printmaking. And then at some point in grad school, she had transitioned to painting. And so she has all this layering in her work. And there's a lot of like printmaking elements that are hidden into it. And so at this scale, it's kind of hard to see, but like in person, they're weird and they're creepy and they're amazing. And the layers are really interesting. And then the printmaking professor at Fresno is Matt Hobson Walker. And one of the things that I find incredibly difficult is screen printing. And he's one of the most amazing screen printers I think I've seen. And so Fresno seemed like it was a good fit in terms of like both form and content and the type of work that like I'm hoping to be able to make. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit because I know that like a lot of people that would be here are, you know, you're getting a bachelor's or a BFA and then you're going to try to find a master's program, and that I feel really happy with the program at Fresno State. And I think that it's because I actually did some research about where I wanted to apply. And so that would just be my advice, is to look at the work coming out of the program and like really look at, you know, the professors and what they're doing and if it, you know, might be a good fit for you. So anyhow, but yeah, so there's that. And then the other thing before I show you what I'm currently working on, which is a lot of unfinished work, is the Fresno Print Guild. So there's the Fresno Printmakers Guild. It's housed in Fresno, I guess, but we have artists all over the state and a few out of the state, and I think at least one artist that is out of the country. So we are taking new members, and so if that's something you guys are interested in, I would suggest applying and checking it out. Matt is our president, Matthew Hobson Walker, and then we just had a show in Hanford at the King's Center, and so there's at least an annual exhibition, and we do print exchanges and just kind of, you know, spread the good printmaking word. Okay, so then this was for a print exchange. And so the theme for the print exchange was balance. And so basically I was thinking about my sister. And so this is a portrait of my sister, but I thought about this piece as the idea of like a totem, and kind of what are the sort of like, it's a little tongue in cheek, right? But also like, what are the things that like would be on her totem if she were to have a totem? And she's, you know, a millennial through and through. And so like, it's a LaCroix can and a DoorDash bag and an Amazon box and her ridiculously expensive, but very tiny, very average house. And so I call this portrait of my millennial sister. But I also feel like this is true for me and so many of us. But I like this idea of doing a portrait that's not a likeness, but that is represented by these sort of commercialized capitalist things we surround ourselves with that make us happy and start to kind of define us. And so this is significant because this is my train of thought for a lot of what I'm currently working on. So then this is more work that is, it's just sort of, this is not like a portfolio piece for me, but it's a piece that is kind of helping me get where I'm going. And so I keep looking at work by like Catherine Polk, who has these figures that are very like paper doll-like, and a lot of times like their arms or they're very disjointed. And then also there's an artist, her name's Kentura Davis. And she's more of a printmaker that uses printmaking in a drawerly way. And one of the things that I really like about her work is that blur. It's a sense of movement. And so I keep thinking about these ideas, and then how does that become, like, how do I integrate these things into my work? And so this is just sort of a preliminary piece moving in that direction. And then the other thing that I have been incorporating lately is like these happy, fun things, right? Like, so the work that I finished Sac State with was about memory. This current work, I keep adding things, like I guess I'm always thinking about age and time passing and what is the like atmosphere of that. And so anyhow, I keep thinking about birthdays and balloons and piñatas and all of these like happy, cheery things, but what do they mean as you get older? And they're kind of these nostalgic items like from our childhoods. And then how does that look when you start to put adult forms in there? And so that's kind of my answer to not wanting to continue to put kids in my work, at least for now, is that what if I add these sort of like these childlike nostalgic things with the adult form? Okay, so this is another piece. This is not a portfolio piece. This is a thing that I made for a class because it was an assignment, but it's significant in terms of technique. And so I'm taking an advanced drawing class with Stephanie Ryan, and she includes all of these printmaking, you can do printmaking at home techniques. And so one of the things that we're doing is photocopy transfer. So to take images that are produced by an inkjet machine and transferring them to paper. And so the cigarettes and the moth wings and the head, those things are done using this process where you can actually draw an image or use a photograph and create multiples and transfer it to paper to create fine art pieces. And so this is the concept that I am currently working with and integrating into like my more traditional printmaking. So now here's a piece that's like 95% done. And so I think what's missing is a party hat. But this is yeah, like I'm thinking this goes back to thinking about like the progression of time and aging, but also like just sort of the like stress, I think, of living. But yeah, I'm thinking a pink party hat like right here. And then so this is where like if this was in a month, I would have, you know, probably 15 fully finished pieces to show you, but I don't do one thing at a time. And so I have like 5 etchings that are in progress. And so this poorly registered one is the only one that I have a picture of because I took a picture of it so that I could figure out where I was going to put the Shinkalei when I go back into the studio next week. But you can kind of see where I'm tracking. And then the other thing that I have are piñatas. And so this the blocks are on the left, and then on the right, those are full size sheets of Reeves VFK. So they're 22 by 30. And my idea for these is that they are going to be like the previous one that I showed you with the silhouette and the cigarettes, right? But this is like layer 1. And so I still need to cyanotype behind them and then add the things that are coming out of the piñata. So this goes back to like my totem piece where it's like, what are the things that would come out of your adult piñata? Like, I mean, you know, like, so for my sister, yeah, it might be LaCroix hands, right? But yeah, so they're like, this is the thought process. And so I'm gonna have some polls on my Instagram soon. Like, what are the things that kind of, you know, get you through currently? And so yeah, so that's where that's all going. And then here's the other piece that I've been currently working on. There's a studio shot that somebody took of me pretty recently. And yeah, and so this is partially carved. I have arthritis, and so I only carve for a few days in a row before I'm completely sore, and then I have to take a couple days off. So this is what I'm currently working on, but I have a piece that is almost finished that we're going to wrap this up with, and I'll show you where all of these things are going. And so this will happen with the piñatas and some other pieces that are in progress, and it's this. So this is a 30-inch by 30-inch canvas. And what I'm doing is I'm taking my relief prints and printing them on really thin Eastern style paper and collaging them onto canvas, and then also painting and drawing and using the photocopy transfer technique to add in photographic imagery. And so like this does a lot of things for me. It helps me get the movement and the motion and sort of a more organic look than what I can get with relief printing by itself. It also, the layering allows to make work that isn't flat. Like I love printmaking, but printmaking is very flat. And so as a way to create depth, yeah, so this is the current direction of my work. And yep, that is it. And I know that was a lot and all over the place, but that's what you guys got. How do I give it back to Genesis?
Oh, can I ask a few questions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd love to learn how to do this. Like, I don't know if you have made a video or if you're willing to make a process video that's like just very simple, so it's not like taking too much of your time. But like, I don't know how you would do the thing that you just said. You just said words and they I know my memory was really bad when you knew me at school, but it's gotten worse. What did you just call it? Where you take how you transfer onto
The photocopy transfer.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, so you can use, there are chemicals that you can use that you can buy at Home Depot and stuff. I think they're pretty toxic, but you can also get, let me see if I can find one.
Like toxic.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all do.
I was like you were talking about earlier, Summer.
I know you can use wintergreen oil.
Wintergreen oil is actually also pretty toxic.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it is natural material. But yeah, you can use wintergreen oil, you can use citrus oil. And we were just literally today talking about this.
Yeah. Yeah. So these have MSDS. So even though you can buy this chemical by itself, at least you can get the MSDS on these. And yeah, if it comes out of a laser jet, then you can use them to transfer.
Is laser jet like the one we have at school? Okay.
Yeah, and if it has toner instead of ink.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have that at school. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I've loved seeing your art. And you look great, by the way. I wanted to mention that too.
Thank you.
And then, the group one you guys did in the gallery, I loved that. Summer today was also, we had a Zoom class this morning. And Summer was mentioning that we could apply as a group to not perform, I forget the word, but like hanging up stuff in, is it the Wit? Yeah, the Wit. Okay. I'm sure you know where the Wit is, or remember. And I'm like, well, how would you do that as a group? And then when you showed us the panels of wood hanging up, I love that. Like just using the actual wood instead of the paper. Like that would be such a cool idea. I don't know who else would go in on it. Yeah, I know Cher had wit shows. I myself am the one that can't remember the words of things. Thank you very much, by the way.
Yeah, thank you for your time and showing your lovely work. It's definitely inspiration to see like the different techniques that can be combined with printmaking.
Yeah,
so that was really cool to see. So with that, do you like the collage elements or
I think I like
Oh,
the
message.
when you layer things, it starts to look more, I guess, like a memory, and that kind of breaking of real space or real time I find interesting because I think that I don't know, like I like the sense of nostalgia that you can get when you're capturing something that doesn't look like it's of right this second. I have a hard time articulating that. But I think that like the being able to create spatial depth, and so like as a printmaker, I think we tend to like layering. And so it's just another like it's a way of taking that layering concept into other mediums. And I like having the ability to play with like transparency and opacity and um also getting some like freer mark making like with paint or ink.
Could I show Shara one piece that I did real quick?
sure?
Okay. So I'm sure that you've had a COVID test before, where they just jam it up your nose like nobody's business. So last term, I had, or maybe it was earlier. No, yeah, it was last year. Never mind. I had one done, and I took a video, and then from that video, I don't think you have 3D glasses on you, but I made this print. Um, Give it a second, it'll show up. And it's actually 3D. You can see like the red and the cyan. And I gave out 3D glasses for everybody too, so they could join in on the fun. And that was how I was able to get like an extra layer of texture. You know, like and I was pretty darn happy with
That's
that, and I
yeah,
just
that's
wanted
an
to share that with you.
exciting yeah, that's exciting. I like the idea that it makes it more like interactive for people too.
Yeah, we just did an exchange about that. Oh, actually, this is part of the exchange that we just did. Genesis's block party as like an ephemeral thing. I think you know that though. Yeah, Del, we just talked about it. I'm sorry. I had 4 hours of sleep. My memory's just shot. Thank you for letting me show for that.
Does anyone else have a question for Shara?
A perfect
I
4x6. Very nice.
So
Yep.
yeah, thank you everyone for coming to the block party today. I hope you gained something from this experience. I know I did, so I appreciate the attendance today.
Yeah. I'm glad
I
to
want to
see
thank
everybody.
you for, well, I want to thank Maria for, for inviting me to attend. I really found it fascinating
nice.
and, you know, anyway, and I really enjoyed.
So
Yep.
yeah, thank you everyone for coming to the block party today. I hope you gained something from this experience. I know I did, so I appreciate the attendance today.
Yeah. I'm glad
I
to
want
see
to thank
everybody.
you for, well, I want to thank Maria for, for inviting me to attend. I really found it fascinating and, you know, anyway, and I really enjoyed seeing everything, the Tom Killian's work and Shara Mercado's work and so on. Really impressive.